Hey friends, it's Sharon from Sugar Plum Studio. Thank you so much for joining me today for cupcake decorating. Today's video is a llama cupcake, and this video is going to show you how to put together the components of your kit to create this project. Now, there are a couple things you're going to need before we get started in addition to what is in your kit. You're going to need a pair of scissors to cut the tip off of that piping bag, and then you'll want to have some napkins or paper towels or a kitchen towel nearby just so you can keep your hands nice and clean. Speaking of nice and clean, we want to make sure we start with nice clean hands, because whenever you are making food, your number one job is to make sure that you don't put your germs on it. So we want to make sure that our hands are clean before we start, and we'll try not to lick our fingers while we're working. All right, so we're going to get started making our llama. So we have a little bag here that has some fondant pieces that we're going to use for our llama, and some fresh fondant pieces that we're going to use to model some other parts of our llama's facial features. All right, so if you have never used fondant before, it's a special dough that's made out of sugar, and it does all the same things that your Play-Doh does. So if you've ever played with Play-Doh, you're going to know what to do with fondant. So what we want to do is open that bag. If I can get my bag open. And open that bag, and you're going to see a little fondant disc that's already cut, right? That's going to be our llama's mouth. And you should have two little black dots in your bag. They're going to be part of the llama's eyes. So we can take out that white disc and those two black dots, and then you'll be left with a white piece of fondant and a brown piece of fondant. So we're going to start with the white piece of fondant. So we're going to take that out of the bag. Now, because fondant is made from sugar, it's soft and sweet and chewy like marshmallows. So if you like marshmallows, you're probably gonna like fondant. But if you don't like marshmallows, you can take the fondant pieces off. We're just making little decorations, so you certainly don't have to eat it. But because it's made from sugar, it can get very sticky on your hands. So that's what this cup is for. So this is cornstarch, and cornstarch is also a food product, so it's safe for us to use it. So we're gonna open up the lid. And this is going to help keep the fondant from sticking to our hands while we're working. So we're going to take one finger, we're going to dip it into the cornstarch like this, rub it on our hands, rub our hands together, and get a nice light coating of cornstarch all over our hands. So if the fondant feels sticky to you, you may need a little bit more cornstarch. How much you use will depend on how warm your hands are. So if you have really warm, hot hands, you probably will use a little more cornstarch. All right, so I'm going to take that white fondant and I'm going to squish it up in my fingers and make sure that it's nice and soft and squishy. All right, I'm going to roll it into a ball, and then I'm going to roll it back and forth into kind of like a little nugget or a log here. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I need to break it into two even pieces. So by holding the fondant this way, I can kind of keep my pieces very even. But if they're not exactly even, that's quite all right. All right, so I'm going to take each of those white pieces and I am going to roll them into a ball, and then I'm going to press the ball flat with my finger. So what I'm trying to do is make a disc that's about the same size as that one that's already in your kit. So we've taken an edible ink marker and we've drawn this little smile, this little mouth section on the fondant already. And we assume that you didn't have an edible ink marker, so that's why we went ahead and did this for you. But we want to make two white discs that are about the same size as that disc we provided for you. So here's one, and then I'm going to do the same with the second. Roll it into a ball. I'm going to press it flat like that. So then I have these two, and then I'm going to take those two black dots and I am going to press those into the center of each of my white discs that I made. So we don't need any kind of water or glue or icing or anything like that to make them stick. Just press them down, they'll press right into that soft fondant. So those three pieces are going to make up the eyes and the mouth section of my llama. All right, so then we're going to make some ears for our llama, and that's what we're going to use the brown piece for. Now, just like the white, it may be a little bit sticky on our hands, so you can go ahead and get a little more cornstarch if you need to. We're going to squish up that brown fondant, make sure it's nice and soft. We're going to roll it into a ball, and then we'll roll it back and forth into kind of a little log or nugget like this, again, so that we can break it in half into two even pieces. All right, then we're going to take each of those pieces, I'll squish them up individually, roll them into a ball. We're going to press them flat again in our hands to make a disc. All right, and then I'm going to drop it and then pick it back up. And then what I'm going to do is pinch the bottom like this. So that's gonna make our llama's ears. All right, so I'll show you that again with the second piece. So I have my second piece of fondant. I'm gonna roll it into a ball. I'm gonna press it flat with my finger so that it's a disc, all right? And then I'm gonna take my fingers and pinch them down at the bottom so it makes kind of a folded ear shape. Now, if you'd like to make your ears kind of pointy, you can hold where you fold it and just gently pull on the top to make your ears a little pointier, right? Or you can leave them round. It's totally up to you. This is your art. You get to decide what it looks like. All right, so now we have the facial features and the accessories that we're gonna put on our cupcake. So now it's time for our icing. So we have our bag of icing. So if you've never used a piping bag before, it's just like a tube of toothpaste. As long as you squeeze, the icing will come out. When you stop squeezing, it will no longer come out. When you want to squeeze the icing, you're gonna hold the bag up at the top near the rubber band. So you see how I'm holding it there, and when I squeeze, the icing will come down through the piping tip or through the piping bag. If I hold the bag all the way down here and I squeeze, well, half the icing's gonna squeeze up and half the icing's gonna squeeze down, and you're gonna get a very uneven pipe. So you wanna make sure that you hold it as high as you can on that piping bag. And if you need two hands to do that, that's absolutely fine. You can certainly do that. You don't have to hold your cupcake and pipe at the same time. You can leave it down in front of you and pipe like this. All right, so now we're gonna cut the tip off of this bag. So we want to make just a very small hole. So from the tip of that bag, I'm just gonna measure down maybe about a ½ inch or so. All right, now I don't want too big of a hole because what I want to make is like little pointy spikes of icing. And then we're going to squeeze the icing down. So I'm going to just test it out here. That's perfect. So see, I have little spikes of icing like that. Now, if the icing is really difficult for you to squeeze out and you want to cut your hole a little bit bigger, that's fine. I always suggest that you cut it smaller than you think you need, because you can always make the hole bigger, but you can't make it smaller if you cut it too big. All right, so I'm going to take my cupcake and I'm going to start to cover the surface of the cupcake with little spiky pipes all over. So I'm squeezing and lifting my hand away as I squeeze. So this is going to take us some time to do, because you see we just have that little bit coming out of your piping bag. And I'm really fast at this, so it may take you quite a bit longer, but that's certainly okay. You take as much time as you need, and you certainly can stop the video if you need to. All right, so I'm just going to continue to pipe my little spiky squirts of icing all over the top. And this is a vanilla buttercream icing. We just used a color to get this brown color. It's not chocolate icing, it's just brown vanilla on our vanilla cupcake. All right, so there I've covered the whole top of my cupcake, and you can use as much or as little of this icing as you need, because the thing about cake decorating, cupcake decorating, is that it's art. It's just like any other kind of art, drawing a picture, painting with paint, or drawing with crayons and pencils, sculpting with clay. And no two people are going to make art that looks exactly the same, and that's okay. That's what makes art awesome. So even though we all follow along with the same instructions, our cupcakes are all going to look different, and that's fine. All right, so I have my whole cupcake covered. Now I'm going to start placing my pieces. All right, so first I'm going to take that nose and mouth section that we have, and I'm going to place that right in the middle of the cupcake like that. All right, and then I'm going to place my eyes, and I kind of like to put them down so that they're almost in line with the mouth section. That's the nice funny facial feature about llamas, is that their face is just kind of so squishy like that. All right, and then I have my ears, and there's no particular place that they have to go. You can put them up at the top like I did. You can put them kind of towards the side, up, down. You get to decide where they go. All right, so that's our llama cupcake. So thank you so much for joining me for cupcake decorating. If you like that project, keep an eye out on our calendar for lots of other fun things that we have throughout the summer. So until we meet again, stay safe, take care, wash those hands, and we'll see you soon. Bye.